Oh, man. What? Whoa.
Oh. Hey.
Didn't see you there.
Nice of you to join us.
Nice of you to join us. Thank you for coming to counterculture sessions or talks or conversations, whichever one you want to call it. Whatever you want to call it, really. Just know it's a little extra for you. I'm here with my good friend Dave. Those of you who are in counterculture know Dave. You should know him well. He is hide and seek champion 101. So I think that,
I mean, that's all you really need to know about me.
Yeah.
At this point.
Is that Dave is the hide and seek champion. So, cool. Let's have a conversation.
Let's do it.
All right. So, we've been talking about the discipleship journal the last, 5 weeks? Almost a little bit over a month. And we've come to the point where we start diving into individual practices. And so I thought today would be cool if you and I have a conversation about two of them. One being Sabbath, and two being community. So, what does your Sabbath look like or entail?
Sabbath, for me, is the easiest and the most fun spiritual practice, because it's literally just like throw off the stress of the week and big chill with God. And I think, for a long time, Sabbath was like, do nothing all day.
Yeah.
Which really makes me feel a lot more tired than normal. And so for me personally, right now, Sabbath looks like going to Publix. Shout out Publix. Getting a boar's head sub.
Ooh.
Eating the whole thing, and I might stop and I get right next to the subs there's there's a little shelf. Yes. There's some banana pudding.
Ooh.
Or I go to the bakery and I get a pie. That's just the food. I love food. I love feasting.
There we go.
Jesus loved feasting. It's in the Bible. And so that's a huge part of Sabbath for me. But then more seriously, it looks like setting the phone aside, setting any freelance or any work aside, and starting the morning off right, actually diving in and spending time, not just doing the daily devotional, but being like that finding that rest with God that is edifying enough to make me want to go into Monday and crush it.
Yeah.
So Sabbath for me is just like, hey, take it easy. Remember who gave you all these things. Remember why you're even able to enjoy all these things. Which is easy to forget living in 21st century America, like the lap of luxury.
Yeah.
And being able to I can get a sandwich any day I want. I have a job. I can go do it. I'm rich.
I have a job, I can do car, and I'm an adult. I can do whatever I want.
Do whatever I want. But Sabbath being like, I'm intentionally enjoying the things that I enjoy, and remembering the fact that I didn't do anything to get these things. I don't deserve any of these things. And my God is good.
Yeah.
And he gave me these things.
Yeah.
And then it's also setting that, having a whole day of separating myself from the distraction of life. So I think it's a lot easier for Sabbath to be understood by people who are working a lot.
Yeah.
Because work and rest are opposites. So that work is now distraction.
Yeah.
And rest can be free yourself from distraction. But if you don't have a 9-to-5 job or something like that, then it's a little bit harder to separate those two things on your Saturday versus your Tuesday, where you're pretty much doing that anyways. And so I think Sabbath Sabbath looks like rest, but that's because the rest of the week should be work. And I mean, somebody told me, I don't remember who it was, so sorry, whoever that was. But they said you need to put forth the work in the week so that you have something to rest from. So that like you need to put forth the spiritual and like mental work, like fighting for the kingdom, so that when Saturday, Sunday, whatever your Sabbath day is, so when that comes, you're actually like, I need to rest right now. And it's so much easier to do that than, oh, well, I'm not actually doing any work throughout the week. And I don't mean like you're not like doing a job work. I'm saying like you're not doing kingdom work. And so your Sabbath actually lacks because you have no reason, like, you don't have any exhaust. And like you're not exhausted from your week. And so it kind of is twofold. For me.
No, that's good. I think so for me, part of Sabbath is like big on intentionality. Like, I think that's something that I grew up the same way you did. I always learned that Sabbath was, it's Sunday. It's the day you go to church and you just like, you don't do anything after that or whatever. And as I've just grown up and learned that I need a Sabbath and learned that it's a practice that in reality is a non-negotiable. Like, God's like, hey, rest. Like, it's something that he wants you to do. I've intentionally just had to sculpt it out because for me, I never really had it before. And so part of what I do is like, it's intentionality. So wake up, spend some time in the morning with my wife. Like, it's something where it's a day where we just get to reconnect, where we get to just hang out with each other. Another thing that I really like, I love the gym and enjoy going to it. So like, part of my Sabbath is like doing something that I like, having fun. And for me, like, going to the gym, spending time, like, we've got a lot of guys that come and work out together, and like that's like part of it's woven into my Sabbath. Like, it's something that I get to enjoy to do, that I have fun doing. And then like, there's just intentional, like you said, it's an intentionality, a mindset of like being thankful for the things that I do have. You know, being thankful for the things that like have happened throughout the week. Time you get to pause and reflect. A lot of times while I'm in the gym, if I'm doing whatever, it's like on those Saturdays, it's one, I'm with my friends, but two, it's also like a time for me to just kind of get out of my head, and just kind of zone in and like or zone out from everything, just kind of be in the moment, and and then a lot of times, like on Saturday nights, Amanda and I will make sure we eat some good food, just like you said, like what do you want to do tonight? I don't know. And it's like I don't know.
Just enjoy the presence of each other and a house and warmth. And I think that's like, what that made me think of, like, you working out and, this activity part is that people talk about Sabbath like it is this, like if you're spending your whole Sabbath watching Netflix, you're not real, like, it's not, and I'm not saying that Netflix is inherently evil, but there is a level of, like, figure out what you enjoy doing.
Totally.
And honor God with it.
Yeah.
For your whole day.
Yeah.
And just be like, if I want to sit with my girlfriend and get Hibachi Express.
Yes.
And just like be like, oh, this is so good. Thank you. Like, they like just feel that presence. Like, this is amazing. Yeah. And now I'm ready to take on this next week.
Totally.
And so it's a weird gray area of, like, maybe you like playing video games. If someone came up to me and said, my Sabbath is playing video games all day long, I'd be like, well, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, maybe it's like, maybe that is like the thing.
That
and so you have an
recharges
hour,
you,
have
yeah.
2 hours, have 3 hours. I don't know. Play
Mhm.
some video games or like watch some TV,
Mhm.
but do it onto the Lord. Do it for the glory of God.
Mhm.
And then he returns to you and he like meets you in this like restful place.
Yeah.
And I think that's really good. I think also it's like, you know, Sabbath is one of those strange things that God did at the beginning of creation and then he commanded. So like God's original, the way he functioned was to have a Sabbath, have a rest day. And because of human nature and how the Old Testament kind of runs through, he then made it a commandment.
Yeah.
And I think that reveals a lot, but I think part of what that reveals is that humans aren't good at like just chilling for a second. Like humans have to be commanded to do this. What used to be actually like the natural rhythm of all of creation is now a commandment. And so it's a practice because it takes practice.
Yeah.
And it's a practice because you have to figure out what your levels are.
Yeah.
What are the appropriate ways to rest? What are like the inappropriate ways to rest?
Yeah.
It's not just debauchery, you know.
No.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Well, you said something that's like, you know, for some people, there's people out there like, so I like the Marvel universe. I like some of these stuff, but there's some people out there who's like, movies are a passion or a hobby for them. Like, and maybe that for them is like a Saturday would be like, I just enjoy the cinematography, you know, this type of stuff. And like for them, it's like watching a new movie on a Saturday night is relaxing, it's restful, and it's whatever, you know? And so I think you hit on something where it's like you kind of got to find what works for you and what doesn't. I think John Tyson, when he came and he talked with us all, and he talked about like the different levels of joy or the different levels, different things that you do for happiness or to have fun. And there was like people who have jokes, people who do this, people who are physical, like the physical aspect of it. Like there's differences. We're all different people. And like, so I guess one thing to say is just like Sabbath gets to be different for each person and the way that they do it. But I think it's really a big mindset and intentionality behind it. Like, like I'd say this, that if your week looks like Netflix every day, and then like you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna Sabbath and do Netflix something. It's like I don't know if that's necessarily what it is, but you know, like if your week, if Netflix, I get you said it's not inherently bad, it's not inherently good, but if it's a way for you to chill and like you realize that like deep down you're like, it's just me relaxing. Like okay, cool.
Yeah, and it should be. So I don't want to get too. I don't know how theological heavy. We came into this being like, let's just talk about stories around this, but I'm going to go there. It's like, God again, like it's a commandment, and He's making His people be set apart. Like Jewish tradition is like every 7 days we Sabbath, every 7 months. We have a month of Sabbath and feasting, and every 7 years we have a year of Jubilee where literally all debts are forgiven. Yeah. And so it's like, it not only is a practice for yourself, but it's a practice to make you set apart from the rest. And so in that, your Sabbath should be set apart from the rest of your week. Yeah. Pretty dramatically. Yeah. It shouldn't look the same as the rest of your week, even though there can be elements that are like, you shouldn't be a completely new person. Yeah. But it's worth mentioning that it's like, everything God asks of us is to refine us, bring us closer to Him, and set us apart from the culture around us. Yeah. And so that's part of the intentionality of it. Yeah. It's like where some people, Saturday is just another work day because they're workaholics and maybe they love work. It's like, no, I love my job. Some days on Sabbath, it's hard for me to be like, no, I'm actually not going to do it. Yeah. But I do that because I know that when Monday rolls around, I'm going to be exhausted because I never actually felt like I I had a vacation.
Yeah.
I never did anything. You
Mm-hmm.
know? And so be set apart.
Be set apart.
Be different.
That's good. That's good. I think it's a good little segue into our next practice, which is community. Which I mean, we live in a culture that's so individual, like about the individual person, that community can technically be a foreign concept to some people. Like real biblical community is a foreign concept. Like if we think about the early church and the stories of them like living communally and selling all their possessions and then giving them all away, and like we look at people like that now and you're like, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this radical idea of community, and I think that it's something that we've missed out on big time, you know? And I think it's a very hard thing to do today. You know, I think that we've got these crazy little things and people are like, oh, I've got community, and it's like, no, you just have a few hundred Instagram followers.
You have a cult.
Yeah. You got a few hundred Instagram followers that like your photos and then maybe just comment on your picture of the day. Like, is that real community?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, community is hard for me.
Okay.
Because I run this weird line of being both pretty like introverted, like my energy comes from alone time, like I need some alone time. But at the same time, my love language is that what is it? Quality time with people.
Yeah.
And so like my vision of community is like these like in-depth conversations with few people, and then I need to like go, I need to be by myself, I need to drive around the block a few times and just chill. And so it's difficult for me to have solid community. Like my girlfriend can she's friends with everybody. She's immediately best friends with people at Walmart that she walks into like she's just like everybody loves her. She's pretty and nice and great. Yeah. I am not any of those things. And so this went dark.
This got so dark.
No, but it's more difficult for me to like be intentional with greater community. Yeah. It's really easy for me to be like, hey, me and Jacob are doing this thing. We're getting lunch at this time. And maybe that's perfect enough for community. Like, I don't think it requires an extrovert that can be best friends with everybody. Yeah. I mean, it requires all of us. That's community. I think where we mess up in community and how it's different than the culture's version of community is that it's not an echo chamber. Yeah. Like Christian community should not be, we should be like-minded in the sense that we are Christians and we are fighting for this kingdom. But it shouldn't be an echo chamber in the sense that we never get challenged by one another. Yeah. Because that's the real beauty of community, is that I'm actually being intentional with getting people together and I'm softening my own heart to be like, oh, that challenges me. And where culture might say, well, burn that bridge, never hang out with them ever again. Yeah. Christian community is, okay, well, we're going to figure this out. Yeah. Because I love you. Yeah. And I'm going to take what that challenge was, bring it back to myself, bring it back to God. Yeah. And either it inspires growth or it inspires repentance or it inspires going back to the person being like, hey, I think, I think that was wrong. Yeah. Or whatever, you know? Yeah. I think, community
does look different for different people too. You know, like it's funny. I'm very much more get my energy from being I'm an introverted person as well. But in the same way, quality time is a big love language for me, and it means a lot to do this. And so, and my wife is very much probably like Katie, can just talk to anybody. Hey, how's it going? Like, she's got a million friends and all this stuff. And so, but like, I think a big part of community is accountability as well. And this is like an intentional part of community, is like you're intentionally letting somebody come into your life, speak into your life, and like help hold you accountable, which is like where I think you maybe we would say like some of that challenge can come from, is like just being like, no, like I just am not gonna live my life like the way that I just want to live it. Like I want people in my life. Like we've got like people in our lives, in our own community that hold us accountable. Yeah. And so part of community is like accountability. Part of community is have like when you're in community, you have people around you that when things happen in your life, like you get to invite into that. And you have when you have community, like they're there when things are hard. They're there when like you're not doing this all alone. And so many times, like so many conversations with people over the last little bit have been like, yeah, I had this going on and I was like the loneliest I ever was. And it's like, you know, but before stuff started happening, they probably would have, if you'd asked them, they'd be like, yeah, I've totally got community, because like they base so much of it off of like, like this, you know. And like I think community in our day and age, like, I don't know, looks completely different than what cultures does, you know. Like I had like, you have conversations with people and they're like, yeah, I just like, so something happened in my life and got a couple posted on Facebook, and they got a couple like, oh, I'm sorry, thinking about you, this type of stuff, and that's it, you know. Like, thanks. Yeah, thanks. Like I just had something major happen in my life, and like reached out to my community and like had people like coming over to my out to my house and you know, it's a difference. Yeah. But it takes time to do that, and it takes an intentional like invitation into being like, hey, I want you into my life, and also like a vulnerability of being like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is. Yeah, I mean, like any relationship. Yeah. Between you or between God, like there's like, it requires. It's not just a one-off. It isn't just a click button. We are now friends. Yeah. It is I've actually put the groundwork in that like relational and emotional equity into somebody else's life. And you're right with accountability. Like, I mean, I have, because there's circles of community. There's like, we are, okay, even bigger, Christendom. Yes. And all the earth. Yeah. We are a part of this Christian community on this planet. Shrinkin', we are a part of the Christian community in this church. We are a part of this church community. And then shrinking further, it's like, I have, you know, realistically, I have like 15 to 20 people that I'm calling, like, that I'm letting them know when I'm in the dark days. Like, I need you guys to help. And then there are levels even within that of like, I have like 4 real close people that I'm like, hey, my heart is always soft to you. And so when you say something that's like, hey, I remember you were going to do this. Hey, remember when you said that you really wanted to start, remember when you said you wanted to pray every day for 2 hours? How's that going? And not being mean about it, but being like, oh yeah, and I'm going to take that because you're a part of this like circle and chew on it because I've opened myself up to you. And then like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. You know what? I dropped the ball on that. And maybe it's a good reason, but drop the ball on it and I need to be held accountable for these things. Yeah. Yeah. It's really like
there are so many people, especially now, that are like the celebrities or whoever that you find out are doing the worst possible things imaginable.
Yeah.
Like the very worst things. It's like, man, not saying that all of them didn't have community.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, like, if they had somebody in their life that was able to speak into their life, and two, willing to speak into their life, then it would be a lot harder for those things to grow and fester as much as they did.
Yeah.
And so it's a safety net.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, is community just, like, we could even get down to talking about, like, is community just you and your friends that you all hang out with? And, you know, maybe, like, I think back to, it could be, like, say the high school friends or whatever. Like, yeah, I had a lot of friends in high school, but, like, we all were doing the same stuff, and like, were we real community? Like, did any of my friends ever be like, yo, Jacob, like, what's going on with your life? Or was it just, like, we all hung out and did, like, is that community? You know, like, I mean, it's a type of community, but is it, like, is it real community? Is it, like, what like, the spiritual practice of community? Because I think the spiritual practice of community takes work. You know, it takes, like, no, I'm going to make myself uncomfortable. Like, no, I'm going to make my, like, I'm going to bring and be vulnerable with another person. Like, I'm going to do this type of thing.
Yeah, and it does take work. All that being said, what I'm just trying to get at is that it takes work, and there's times where people are gonna get on your nerves that you have to intentionally be like, you're still my brother.
Yeah.
And the human, I don't want to say the human nature, our culture's nature is to be like, well, you're out of my life for good. Like, you said this, you agreed with this, you're right wing, I'm left wing, we can't get along. You do this, I do that, you can't, like. And the challenge of community is saying, yeah, that stuff is actually pretty petty when you compare it to, we both serve the same God.
Yeah.
And so we're still going to be close. And I'm still going to be fighting for this. And I'm going to still fight for reconciliation in that.
Yeah. No, dude, that's good. That's good. I think that's, like, a good spot to leave off on. That Christian community, you fight for it. You fight for it. Fight for community, and you fight for each other. There's accountability in it, and it looks different than just a bunch of followers on Instagram. It looks different than a bunch of friends on Facebook. It looks different even than just a bunch of friends who do stupid stuff together, I think. And if I really were to sit back and, like, I think it would look different than maybe some of the stuff I've said I've had community in the past. So, yeah, that's good, dude. That's good.